How's everyone doing today? It's your boy JJ Domination, and today we're going to be recapping the Week 8 action across the NFL landscape. So, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the programming, shall we? Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started with the Thursday Night Football game. Actually, before we get started there, I did go 11-4 in predictions this week, so shout out to me for being great. Now let's go ahead and get on with the program. And so we're going to start off with the Thursday Night Football game between the Washington Redskins and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings were at home on this Thursday night game. They won 19-9. It was a very interesting game. I mean, the Vikings did not play their best football offensively. I'm going to be honest about the Vikings. Yeah, they've been killing it, no doubt. Kirk Cousins has been balling out the last, 3 or 4 weeks. But this offense is really Dalvin Cook or bust. I mean, if they can't get the run game going, you're forcing Kirk Cousins to be one-dimensional. I don't think Kirk Cousins is the kind of quarterback that can win you a game basically by himself off of his arm. He's a good quarterback, but my big criticism of him and why I think he's average is he just kind of comes up a little short in a lot of these big time games. I mean, against the Redskins, yeah, it's a primetime game, so that whole narrative about him in primetime kind of goes away for a little bit. But I mean, it's against one of the worst teams in the NFL. At the same time, I can't really give him a whole lot of credit, but you play who you play. You know what I'm saying? And over the last month, he has been killing it, and he hasn't really played the best competition over that last month, but so what? He has been doing his job, he has been winning games, and that's what he needs to do. The schedule is going to get a little tougher, so we'll see how Kirk Cousins and this Vikings offense continues to play. As for the Redskins, I mean, defensively, this was a good matchup. They're very physical up front. They were able to create some pressure with Jonathan Allen and Matt Ioannidis. They were able to get some things going. Eventually, their secondary started to get torched. Kirk Cousins did play well in this game, too, though. I think he had a 50-yard throw to Diggs down the sideline. That was, one of the best throws of the week, straight up. But it got overshadowed by a lot of things that happened on Sunday with, Jacoby Brissett, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson. We'll talk about those plays as well. But Kirk Cousins definitely had one of the best 5 throws of the week. So shout out to him, and shout out to the Vikings. Like I said, they just keep on winning these games. Yeah, the competition has not been the most stiff competition, but they're winning games. I'm not going to give Kirk Cousins all the credit. I know some people want him in the MVP race. No. just no. He's been good over the last 4 weeks, but, nothing to sneeze at. It's really been the Dalvin Cook show. Seattle beat the Atlanta Falcons 27-20. I don't really have much to say about the Seattle Seahawks. They kind of just took care of business. They ran the ball effectively with Rashad Penny and Chris Carson, Rashad Penny, however you want me to say it. Also, I'll give Atlanta credit. They played better defensively. They were still awful, but they played better defensively. They were starting to play a little bit more man coverage, which was good to see. I think this team is built to play more man coverage anyway. And Kendall Sheffield had at least 2 or 3 plays where he really did a good job in coverage on, Tyler Lockett, but a great throw will beat great coverage every single time. And Russell Wilson had 3 dimes to Tyler Lockett that were just must-see dimes. And Kendall Sheffield did a great job in coverage, but like I said, a great throw will beat great coverage every time. Russell Wilson just did his thing. He played well. He didn't have to do too much. He didn't even have 200 yards passing. He didn't need to. And DK Metcalf with 2 receiving touchdowns, both within 5 yards. Good stuff. I'm glad that they're using him a little bit more in the red zone as a big receiving threat. A couple of miscommunications defensively by the Falcons as well, which led to some scores. Oh well. I will give the Falcons credit. Like I said, they played better defensively, but one decent defensive outing is not going to change my mind about change needing to happen on that side of the ball and a certain defensive coach needing to be fired. So that's not going to change my mind. And also Matt Schaub, holy shit, 460 passing yards. If you would have told me Matt Ryan was playing, I would have believed you because they basically look the same out there. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen like every week. I'm just saying in that particular game, you could have told me Matt Ryan was playing in a number 8 jersey and I would have believed you, because it basically looked the same. Slow start offensively. They didn't score any points in the first half. They get a bunch of garbage time yards and stats. I mean, that's kind of like the Falcons offense this year. And that's not me saying, oh, like the Falcons offense is terrible, because it's not. They get off to these slow starts and then they start to rally back, and because their defense is so bad, it's too little too late. So basically same old with the Falcons. And Seattle, good bounce back win against a bad team. You know, they did lose to Baltimore. Good way to bounce back. That's all I can say for Seattle. They needed that win, especially with the 49ers and how they've been playing, but we'll talk about them later. Chargers at Bears. I recently went back and looked at this game because I realized I was going to be recording this on a Wednesday instead of a Tuesday, so I had extra time to go back and look at the game. The Chargers ended up winning 17-16. Eddie Pinheiro, the kicker for the Chicago Bears, had 2 missed field goals in this game. That's not exactly why they lost the game, but yes, that is a part of the reason why they lost. Because, you know, it sucks. Like, it sucks that, you know, the Bears continue to have this problem with kickers. It's like it goes away and then it comes back randomly. It's just weird. The Chargers, Keenan Allen was pretty limited, not by design. He was just playing hurt on a limited snap count, and he kept falling all over the field. He did have a few catches in this game, I think like 5 or 6. Mike Williams was pretty good. He did a good job on a couple of passes. Had a good jump ball over Kyle Fuller, I believe, who he basically turned inside out on a route. Kyle Fuller did have an interception, by the way, but he's not that good. I mean, people really overhyped him last year because of how good the Bears defense was. And we'll talk about the Bears in general a little bit later. Melvin Gordon got his first rushing touchdown. Congrats. He actually didn't fumble at the goal line like he did last week. Eckler was fine. Like, he had a receiving touchdown. He was just fine. He was okay. Hunter Henry did his little thing. And defensively, the Chargers, you know, pretty good. Overall, I mean, they made a few plays. Yeah, they gave up some yards. It was more of a bend but don't break type of game, but we're going to talk about the Bears right now. Defensively, they're still very good. I don't think anyone's going to doubt that, but they are a little bit overrated. Like, I tried to tell Bears fans and NFL fans in general, like, the Bears are not going to repeat what they did last year as a defense and as a team. And there's a lot of variables that go into that, but we'll talk about that more when we get to the offense, because I really want to focus on Mitchell Trubisky. So, Mitchell Trubisky last week, you know, got a lot of criticism, deserved a lot of that criticism as well for, you know, being a part of a stagnant offense and not moving the ball. One thing I did realize in this game, and I told myself, you know what, I'm going to pay close attention to Trubisky and how he's throwing the ball, the reads that he's making. If there's one positive thing I can say about Mitchell Trubisky, he can throw the ball over the middle of the field. Like, he's really good at hitting those seam passes. Like, if I had to say anything positive, that would be my one positive for Trubisky. He can throw the ball down the middle of the field. Like, he's good in that area. It's when the field shrinks and he has to use the sideline and get vertical down the sideline, that's where he's bad at. And he also doesn't really use his athleticism like he should. He had one play where he scrambled for a first down late in the game. And that was a good use of Trubisky using his athleticism as my game. I don't know how I can free this code. What are you, 2K? Let me, like, switch the play or something, see if that does anything. Alright. Sorry about rambling on. I may cut that out. I may not. I may keep it for your entertainment. But Trubisky just really wasn't that good. In the first half, he played well. I'm glad the Bears decided to run the football more. They should have been doing that from the start. They ran it with David Montgomery 27 times, 135 yards. It was a good game for him. A very good game for him. He played well. He got a rushing touchdown as well in this game. But in the second half, they were just not that good. Like, yeah, they hit a few passes in the second half to Taylor Gabriel. One big one to Allen Robinson where he jumped over a linebacker that was basically going to pick the pass off. But Bad clock management. I mean, I guess that's the one thing he got from Andy Reid, him being Matt Nagy, who used to work there. I guess he's bad with clock management as well. They had a timeout, and they took a knee, which loses a yard, by the way, when you take a knee. He took a knee with like 42 seconds left, and they let the clock run out, and then they called a timeout, and he kicked the 41-yarder. In my opinion, they should have ran a play. I know Matt Nagy's going to defend himself and say, no, we did the right thing. We just didn't make the field goal. I get that. I get that. If it would have worked out, nobody would be criticizing him. But still, I think you should run a play. You have a timeout in your back pocket. You run a play, get some extra yards. Worst case scenario, you come to the line of scrimmage, you spike it, then you run another play. Just throw it over the middle, just some check down. And then you call another timeout, and you kick like maybe a 27-yard field goal instead of a 41-yard field goal, and you're probably like, well, what's the difference? 14 yards and a chip shot. That's the difference. Instead of like an intermediate field goal. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. It could have been worse for the Bears, but luckily they hung in this game. They're just really not as good as people expected. They're exactly what I thought they'd be. A limited offense with a great defense that can't win them every single game. Giants-Lions, I recently went back and checked out this game as well. Danny Dimes, man, hey. Outside of his fumbling issues and not feeling the pocket as well as you'd like him to, I mean, hey, he's a rookie, number one. Number two, he's got great touch on a lot of these throws. Like, Darius Slayton has become like his primary receiver down, in the red zone a little bit. Like, Daniel Jones has been playing well. Like, he throws the football pretty well. He's got good touch, good anticipation. My big issue is his pocket presence and his pocket awareness. Like, he still takes bad sacks. He fumbles a lot. Like, that's kind of the only thing. And sometimes those tendencies don't change in the NFL. Like with Jameis Winston, who we'll talk about later. Like, he still throws a bunch of dumbass passes and... But anyway, this is about Daniel Jones. He did have like an interceptable ball that was dropped by Justin Coleman on the third down play. But outside of that, I mean, hey, Danny Dimes, man, doing his thing. Like, he ain't looking bad, honestly. Like, he had a good game here. Matthew Stafford had a really good game as well. I think he only had like 7 incomplete passes. But the same thing that I had to hear from Lions fans when Aaron Rodgers got NFC Offensive Player of the Week. They played the Raiders. Anybody could throw against the Raiders. We'll see next week when you play them. And also, y'all played the Giants. So, I don't want to hear it. It's the same story. But I will say this. Stafford has played well. My only issue is they're not winning. Like, they're a good team, and they're not winning. That's kind of been the big issue. Like, win these games, man. Like, I know one of them really wasn't completely their fault. Some bad officiating in the Green Bay game. The Minnesota game, I felt like it just got away from them, like, quicker than they thought. It just kind of got away from them. And this game, like, this was a winnable... or not this game, the Kansas City game. They could have won that game pretty easily. Like... They just kind of beat themselves. Like, Patrick Mahomes didn't throw a deep pass, didn't throw a touchdown. Like, that's a winnable game. But y'all didn't take care of business, Detroit. But I will say this, like, they're a good team. They're not going to be a pushover. But they're in last place in this division. Which, being last place in this division, it's a good thing because that means, hey, you're a good team. Because this division's stacked. It's arguably the best. But being last place is not helping you, Detroit. As for the Giants' defense, I mean, they give up a lot of yards. Like, yeah, Janoris Jenkins got an interception. Okay, moving on. Don't care. Jets at Jaguars. Will Sam Darnold continue to see ghosts? Because Gardner Minshew ain't afraid of no ghost. That's at least what the banner said, flying over the stadium on Sunday. The Jets are horrible. They're just a bad football team. And it really starts with their front office, basically putting it out there like, hey, we're going to shop Le'Veon Bell. We're going to shop Jamal Adams. Oh, but we're not rebuilding. Like, what the fuck? Like, what is your team? we're 1-6, or not we, but I'm speaking like as the GM. We're 1-6, but we're gonna shop our 2 best players, but we're not rebuilding. Like, what exactly are you doing? Like, no wonder the Patriots like beat the shit out of you guys every time they play. Like, seriously. Like, the last time the Jets beat the Patriots, I'm pretty sure Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback. Like, you guys are terrible. You guys are an awful organization. You know, like, they had a decent draft. They paid all these players big money, like CJ Mosley, who hasn't played in a long time. He re-aggravated his groin injury. He may miss, like, another month, 5 weeks maybe. I hate it for him. It ain't his fault. Le'Veon Bell, like, not really running with that same juice and energy that he was in Pittsburgh. Maybe that's because the offensive line is, you know, kind of worse than Pittsburgh's. Crazy to believe, right? And Sam Darnold is not getting any help, really, but he's also been playing like shit. He's basically playing like Jameis Winston. If you just blurred out both quarterbacks and just watched how they played, you would assume they're basically the same player. Sam Darnold and Jameis Winston. And my early draft comparison for Sam Darnold was current day Jameis Winston. What was Sam Darnold's big issue in college? Turnover prone. What's Jameis Winston's big problem in the NFL? He's turnover prone. Like, he has a whole season's worth of turnovers more than the next quarterback. Like, Sam Darnold, I think, has 7 interceptions in 2 games? He has more interceptions. Like, he has 7 picks in the span of 6 days. Like, let that sink in. He has been horrible. I mean, yeah, nobody's really doing him any favors out there, but, I mean, people hyped you up to be, like, this generational talent, this Andrew Luck, Carson Wentz, Brett Favre-esque quarterback, and you're not really showing it. Like, this is your 2nd year, bro. You're not showing it. But it's alright. You're not the only rookie quarterback that's struggling. I mean, there's a guy in Cleveland that, you know, he ain't really feeling as dangerous as he once was. I mean, you played like shit. Let's just call it like it is. Gardner Minshew, a good game for him. I actually like what he's been able to do in the pocket, trying to evade pressure, get the ball out quick. He's got a little mobility. I didn't think he had that in college, but he actually does. Like, he's got some mobility. Like, he ain't looking too bad. DJ Chark, I'm glad I picked him up in fantasy, like, immediately after he had that one breakout game at the beginning of the year. Like, he's just been good. He's kind of came out of nowhere. He's been the breakout player for Jacksonville. I forgot who I had for the breakout player. It might have been, like, Taven Bryan or somebody who barely plays for this team, which is just wild because he's a first-round pick. But very interesting. That's all I could really say. Jacksonville's offense looking pretty good. Leonard Fournette easily, like, the best offensive player on the team. And defensively, not looking so bad either. You know, Calais Campbell has been their best defensive player. A.J. Boye got an interception. Good to see him, you know, getting an interception, getting some recognition. Because, you know, people kind of forget, you know, like, he's a very good corner in his own right. You know, he deserves to be in that conversation for one of the best, like, 10 corners in football. But I feel like people kind of forget that he's in that discussion. We're gonna, by the way, that was a 29-15 game. And the Giants-Lions, that was a 31-26 game. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting to announce some of the scores. Let's see here. Bengals versus the Rams. This is a London game. The Bengals on Andy Dalton's birthday, by the way. The Bengals on Andy Dalton's birthday benched them. Ryan Finley is going to get the start next week. I'm excited to see Ryan Finley. I thought him and Daniel Jones as throwers of the football are actually pretty similar. Like, they both throw with good anticipation. They have good touch on the ball. The only thing is Daniel Jones is a more mobile version of him. So it's going to be interesting to see what Ryan Finley looks like in the Zach Taylor offense. Like, I can't wait to really see how he plays. I don't know if he'll be any better, if he'll be worse. We'll just have to see. But Andy Dalton, he was okay. Like, we've kind of seen enough of him. Like, he's clearly, I mean, it's not all his fault. Like, he does have a bad offensive line. it's kind of like with Sam Darnold. You know, like he does have his turnovers. Like his pocket awareness and presence really isn't all that great. I don't know. It's just kind of the same thing he's going through, except the Bengals are winless on the year. I don't know. It's just very weird over there. They're getting good wide receiver production, like Tyler Boyd, Alex Erickson. They're playing well. Actually, they're like getting yards, being productive. They're just not really scoring the football. It's kind of been their big issue. Their defense is pretty bad as well. I don't know who their defensive coordinator is. I actually am unaware of who it is. You know, it doesn't matter. Their defense has been bad since Mike Zimmer left. So I don't know what else to really say about the Bengals. They're not really a good watch, honestly. Like, if they're on TV, I think I'd rather just, like, I don't know, watch bowling or tennis or something. But for the LA Rams, hey, opening it up a little bit more. We saw like a double reverse flea flicker play to Cooper Kupp. That was pretty cool. They're starting to get a little bit more creative on offense. I think they're starting to dig deeper into their bag of tricks, which is good. You know, you like to see, you know, a lot of people playing with confidence. And let's see, what else do we got going on here with the Rams? They're not really running the football that great still, but oh well. I mean, the offensive line, though, the very underrated thing about them is they haven't given up a sack in 2 weeks. Granted, they faced, you know, Cincinnati and Atlanta, who haven't really done a great job getting after the quarterback this year. Let's see, AJ Green did not get dealt at the deadline either, so he's actually practicing to play next week. Who do they play next week? Who do the Bengals play next week? Nobody, I guess. Nobody. They're on a bye week, so week 10. I'll look up who they play week 10 real quick. The Ravens at home. They're at home against the Ravens. AJ Green has had some great career games against the Ravens, so we'll see. We'll see how he comes out. Actually, no, we're not talking about the Ravens because they were just on a bye week. Buccaneers at Titans. This was a very weird game. Jameis Winston's like the biggest headache in the NFL. Like, you see the big plays that he made throughout this game, and then you realize he's Jameis Winston and an interception's coming at any moment, and then he throws the interception, and you're supposed to be surprised even though you know that's like his thing. Like, Mike Evans had a monster game. He's been hot and cold all year. Mike Evans had a monster game. Chris Godwin kind of quiet out there, didn't really do a whole lot, but he was still effective in spots. Let's see here. Jameis Winston led the team in rushing. Not a good sign. Just not a good sign. Tennessee's defense is really good. Like, don't get it twisted. They're a good defense. But damn, that's kind of sad. And then defensively, like, their run defense is good. They gave up like 2 big runs to Derrick Henry. Outside of that, like, they made him fumble, and he didn't do a whole lot else. And then you look at, like, their secondary, like, Carlton Davis had 2 interceptions called back because of, like, pass interference on him, which is just funny because, like, it's like he can't get a pick unless he's grabbing somebody or holding him. I don't know, it's just funny because he's not that good of a player. Let's see here. For the Titans, they took advantage of their turnovers. Like, they scored 2 touchdowns off of takeaways and very good field position, as they should. Ryan Tannehill's go-to guy in this game seemed to have been Jonnu Smith, the backup tight end for Delaney Walker, who was out. Very interesting to see that. He seems to be pretty productive. You know, like, I know last year he was, like, kind of the go-to guy for a little bit for Marcus Mariota, and now he's the go-to guy for Ryan Tannehill, which is very interesting to see. Corey Davis didn't have the greatest of games. You know, that's to be expected a little bit. I think A.J. Brown had a touchdown in this game. He only had 2 catches. Humphreys did his little thing. I don't know, man. Outside of that, it really wasn't an entertaining game, but you look at the scoreboard and it's 27-23, and you're like, oh, cool. Eagles at Bills. This was the game that I picked as my upset. I had the Eagles winning. They win 31-14. 13, a very windy game. The Eagles front seven did their job. You know, they did exactly what they're supposed to do. That's get pressure. Stop the run a little bit as well. Josh Allen did not really beat this team vertically. He should have. He should have, like, just chucked the ball down the field. The Eagles have, like, the worst pass defense in the NFL, and you really don't even challenge them like that. That's kind of weird. That's sad as well, that you don't even trust Josh Allen to abuse the worst pass defense in the league. Like, they give up the most yards to, like, anybody, and you didn't even let him test them a whole lot. The Eagles, they kind of got back to what they were doing, you know, like what they want to do, and that's run the football, play some good defense, play action. I mean, it's very interesting. The best teams in the NFL can run the football. The Patriots, 49ers, Saints, Packers, Vikings, Ravens, like, they all run the football very well. Seattle. Like, the best teams in the league run the football effectively. The Eagles are trying to get back to running the football, and they have the offensive line to do it. They have one of the best offensive lines in the league, if not the best. I mean, I've gone on record saying they've been the best. They just haven't played like it. This was a good turnaround game for the Eagles. And let's go ahead and move on. Broncos at Colts. This was a 15-13 game for the Colts. Adam Vinatieri had a rough start to this game, but it seemed like anything 45 yards or further, he was just automatic. But he did miss a couple of shorter kicks. In this game, Jacoby Brissett had a great MVP-like play. I mean, I'm not calling him an MVP candidate, but if one of the MVP candidates would have made that play, it would have been #1 on SportsCenter. It would have been the most talked about thing of the week. But Jacoby Brissett made a hell of a play. He avoided a safety. I mean, Von Miller, and I forget the other guy that was rushing him, but basically he breaks out of that would have been safety in the end zone, like sack in the end zone for a safety. He breaks out of it. He scrambles out to his right, does a dime to T.Y. Hilton. I mean, that was like one of the best throws, you know, all week, basically. Like, it's up there. Denver, interesting ending to their game. You know, like, they were kind of fine throughout the game, nothing too crazy, but Joe Flacco basically calling out the team and like, oh, you know, why are we playing conservative in the last few minutes? And I agree, but the thing is, Joe Flacco's been in these situations over the last few seasons, and he's proven he can't really be trusted in that situation. So, like, what makes you think on, like, the 15th try he's going to get it? Like, I don't know. Like, I get it from Flacco's perspective. He has this, like, weird neck injury. Like, he could go on IR. He could not go on IR. Like, he's supposed to be out for, like, 5 to 6 weeks. The starting quarterback next week for them is going to be Brandon Allen. So, like, no Brett Rippon. Drew Lock, I think, still on IR. So, very interesting right there. Good game, though. Like, the Colts taking care of business. They're a good watch. They're kind of hard to trust all the time because, like, they almost lost to Denver, but they beat Kansas City, and they beat Houston. I don't know. It's just weird. Just a weird game. Cardinals at Saints, my big takeaway is Drew Brees looking good. Had a good game. Arizona, they can move the football on anybody, and they kind of proved that here. They can move the football. Their big problem is they can't score touchdowns, like 3 field goals, and they probably could have scored up to 28 points in this game. They just scored 9 points. That's kind of their issue. They can't get into the end zone. But Kyler Murray moving the ball around, he did his thing. He did good. It's not getting any easier because on Thursday night he plays San Francisco. But New Orleans did their thing. They got after him, as they should. You know, Cameron Jordan's been feasting all year. And that Saints defense has been very good. But shout out to the Saints, you know, taking care of business. Arizona's not an easy game. You know, like, their defense, no one's really seen it before. They don't know how to game plan for it. And also, like, the Cardinals entered this game 500. I mean, this is not a walk in the park for anybody. You know, like, they're not last year's Cardinals, where they couldn't do anything. Like, they're actually a decent team. Let's see, your Panthers at 49ers. We have been waiting for San Francisco to beat like a really good team. And I would say Carolina's pretty good. And they beat them 51-13. Nick Bosa put on a hell of a show. Let's see. The 49ers actually, fun fact, they run the ball 57% of the time. I mean, that's amazing. They scored 51 points. Kyle Allen absolutely shit the bed. Luckily for Kyle Allen, he'll be playing next week because Cam Newton is rehabbing still. But this would have been the perfect week for Cam Newton to come back and look like a hero. But Kyle Allen gets a chance to redeem himself. He had 3 interceptions. I believe he fumbled as well. Christian McCaffrey played well, but outside of Christian McCaffrey, this team isn't working with much in terms of production and scoring and playmaking. They have playmakers. DJ Moore's pretty good. Curtis Samuel's good. Greg Olson's still got some juice. I don't know. It's just been Christian McCaffrey or bust. It's kind of the same thing we said about the Vikings with Dalvin Cook. Like, if Christian McCaffrey has an off night or an off day, off evening, forget about it. You're not winning the game. Because outside of him, there's no one you could trust with that workload. It's the same thing I said about the Vikings and Dalvin Cook. Like, it's basically Christian McCaffrey or bust. But San Francisco's defense came to play. They played well, and I'm going to be honest, San Francisco legitimized themselves in this game. They play Arizona on Thursday. Like I said, that's not an easy matchup, so win or lose, like, I'm not going to be overly critical of, like, oh, they lost, or oh, they beat Arizona. Like, Arizona's been winning games this year, okay? Like, say what you want. They've been doing good. Better than expected. But we'll see. We'll see how the 49ers do. I mean, they got to play Green Bay in a few weeks. They play Seattle twice. They get a rematch against the Rams. They'll have a rematch against the Cardinals. I'll have to look at the rest of their schedule, but we'll see. Raiders-Texans. The Texans win 27-24. Let's just talk about the other big play. Watson basically gets kicked in the face by Arden Key and throws a touchdown to Darren Fells, the tight end. Like, what a play. Just what a play. Deshaun Watson seems to make a couple of these every week. Like, Arden Key has him down for a sack. And Arden Key, keep in mind, has been pretty productive in this game. He's been getting good pressure. I think he had a sack in that game, a tackle for loss or two. Like, he had been productive. And he breaks out of a sack. Him being Deshaun Watson. Breaks out of an Arden Key sack. And throws a touchdown on the run to win the game. Like, yeah, there was still time left. Oakland could have made something interesting. But I want to give a shout out to Oakland's offense again. Like, Gruden knows offense. Like, he's moving the football. He's got his team moving the football. Josh Jacobs is looking good. Arguably offensive rookie of the year, outside of Kyler Murray, maybe. Like, this has just been fun to watch. Like, the Oakland Raiders are a fun watch on TV because of their offense. As for the Texans, that's a big win for Houston. Like, they got the job done. We'll see how they look in London when they face London's #1 team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And as for Oakland, they play Detroit. We'll see how things go for them. The Cleveland Browns at the New England Patriots. This is the game that I definitely wanted to talk about. You can say what you want to about New England, and you can say what you want to about Cleveland. Cleveland had the Patriots beat. The thing is, they beat themselves. And the Cleveland Browns have beaten themselves all year. Penalties, turnovers. They're just undisciplined, and they're kind of careless. They have this reckless abandon about them. I don't know if it's like an intentional thing. I don't really know if it's all like coaching. You know, like, I know Freddie Kitchens is getting a lot of crap, as he should. I mean, this team should be better than what they are. And it's going to fall on his shoulders. But the hard part of their schedule pretty much is over. I think after this, like who do they play next week? They play Denver with like a third-string quarterback. And then after that, they play Buffalo, who's pretty limited. And Cleveland can just basically out-talent them. But Buffalo's defense is nothing to joke around with, so we'll see. They'll probably have to get a defensive touchdown to win. But Cleveland's schedule definitely lightens up. That's one positive, but 3 consecutive turnovers on 3 straight offensive plays. 2 Nick Chubb fumbles and like a botched like offensive like shuffle pass type deal to where Lawrence Guy gets an interception. Probably the easiest interception he'll ever have in his playing career. But the Patriots just kind of did their little thing. Like, they ran the ball just fine. James White, Julian Edelman. It's just the same old Patriots. Like, Mohamed Sanu was, just getting involved. I don't know how many snaps he played. I don't know how many touches he had, but he had a couple of catches. He had, like, a couple of miscommunications with Tom, but he just got in the building. Like, give this dude a week. Like, on Sunday night, he may be the best player for their offense. Like, you never know. They play Baltimore, who's coming off a bye. That'll be interesting. As for Cleveland, like we said, they're playing, a third-string quarterback in Denver. We'll see. They should beat the crap out of that team. If not, they're done. Packers-Chiefs, my Green Bay Packers taking care of business 31-24. A very conservative defensive game plan from Mike Pettin. I thought he was going to put his foot on the gas and just annihilate Matt Moore, but they were afraid that Tyreek Hill was going to beat them, on some deep passing plays. And I understand. I get it. If the last thing you want is Tyreek Hill to score a 60-yard touchdown, I get it. You really trust Matt Moore to throw a 60-yard bomb and get 15 yards after the catch to get a 75-yard touchdown? Do you really trust Matt Moore to do that? And it's kind of been my big issue, like, with Green Bay. Like, all of a sudden, over the last couple of weeks, they've been playing very conservative. Like, put your foot on their neck. Like, you trust Matt Moore with 2 backup offensive linemen, a first-year starting center, to pick you apart and throw all these deep passes? No. He's not Patrick Mahomes. You should have sent the pressure. You should have manned up. You should have doubled Tyreek. Put Adrian Amos on Travis Kelce. Like, you should have been a little bit more aggressive defensively. And Blake Martinez can't cover. Like, we've known that for years. Orrin Burks, I'm hoping he can just play more, probably take his spot. I mean, if you're going to have Blake Martinez out there on these passing downs, just send him on a blitz. I mean, he serves no favor in coverage. Matt Moore was basically throwing at him and daring him to do something. And really, the turning point of this game was LaShawn McCoy fumbling. And I had a feeling throughout the game, like, okay, LaShawn McCoy is going to give us one, right? And Green Bay's offense, I mean, hey, they did their thing. Aaron Jones. I mean, I don't want to overreact. He's been playing very well over the past month. Should he be in the MVP conversation? Like, I know this is it's a weird topic. Normally, you don't hear about running backs in the MVP conversation. We have 2. McCaffrey and Dalvin Cook. Should Aaron Jones be in that conversation as well? I'm kind of curious. I'm not saying it in like a cocky way. Like, I'm kind of curious. Like, does he belong in that conversation? I don't know. Like, I'll let the people determine that. Rodgers had a good game. He did have a couple of interceptable passes, a couple of uncharacteristic throws, but overall he was pretty good. He made a ridiculous play too. Listen, Packer fans can tell you what they want. I'm a Green Bay fan. I thought Aaron Rodgers was throwing the ball away because Jimmy Graham wasn't quite open. But then you see Jamal Williams in the back of the end zone. Rodgers just kind of throws it as he's falling down, and I'm thinking, okay, he's throwing it away. Like, there's no way, right? And he throws a freaking touchdown to Jamal Williams as he's falling to the ground in the back corner of the end zone. Like, you got to be kidding me, right? Like, Aaron Rodgers was making some big plays in this game, in a game that people kind of wrote off and didn't think was going to be entertaining. And I tried to tell Chiefs fans, I know Patrick Mahomes is out, but Andy Reid is a great offensive coach. Like, he is going to make life easy for Matt Moore. He is going to design plays for Matt Moore where, listen, you're either going to throw it here, or you're going to throw it here, or you're going to throw it away and be the reason we don't lose. And Matt Moore played a clean game. He played well. That doesn't mean Patrick Mahomes is a system quarterback. That's not what that means at all. I wish people would get off that. Teams can win with backup quarterbacks, believe it or not. But Andy Reid put together a great game plan for a limited quarterback. Like, give him credit. the coaching staff did well. Even Steve Spagnuolo, he was getting pressure on Green Bay for at least 3 quarters. Then Green Bay made their little adjustments, as they should. That's what great football teams do. Kansas City, who do they play? Minnesota next week? I hope Patrick Mahomes comes back and beats the tar out of them. Green Bay, you know, we go to LA to play the Chargers. It'll basically be like 80% Packer fans because they travel well, and I kind of feel bad for the Chargers. They need their own stadium. Like, they need something. But they did get a win against the Chicago Bears. Maybe it's the start of something. We know that the Chargers can get hot at any moment, and they're one of those teams, like, you don't want to play when they're hot because they're very good. So we'll see how that game turns out next week. And finally, Dolphins-Steelers. I mean, the Dolphins are doing a great job at tanking. Like, we know they're supposed to be bad. We know they're supposed to be losing. So I'm not going to hammer them for losing. They're supposed to be. They're literally trying to. Like, they pulled Xavier Howard out of the game after the first half. And I don't know if he actually hurt himself or not. Like, I know they said he did, but did he, though? They put him on IR, basically confirming, like, yeah, they're tanking. It doesn't matter. And they made a trade to get Aqib Talib. I talked about that in yesterday's video. Go check it out. As for the Steelers, I mean, God, things were looking bad in the first half. They were looking bad. At least in the first quarter, they were down 14-0. Mason Rudolph was playing like garbage. But they turned it around in the second half. Deontay Johnson had himself a game. Juju got in the end zone as well. James Conner was doing his little thing. It was just a good performance, like, from Pittsburgh. They definitely bounced back. Miami plays the New York Jets next week. That'll be interesting. And I think Pittsburgh plays the Indianapolis Colts. I don't know which version of either team we're going to get. Those are just 2 teams that I just don't know about on a weekly. So that'll be interesting to see. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, man. And peace out. And enjoy the NFL season. We're midway through the season. You know, this season goes by so fast. A quick programming note. I may have already said this. I don't know. I'm just going to say it again. But Thursday, I will not be able to do a breakdown. But in Thursday's video, which is going to be the... I have, like, this weird schedule. Like, I have a couple of video ideas. Just know Thursday there won't be a breakdown. But there'll be a different video. I'll say in the beginning of the video, like, oh, I have San Francisco winning. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, man. Peace out, and enjoy the season.